I've been reading Jonathan Hickman's Powers of X, House of X, X-Men miniseries for the last roughly 12 weeks, and it's been a delight, but it's really challenged me to really examine what the core of the X-Men are. As a kid raised by the animated cartoon and X-Men Evolution, I really emphasized the superpowers, the teen drama, the minority metaphor about being oppressed by people being afraid of you, and just generally being scared of your God-given gifts. One element that I ignored a lot was the sci-fi elements, and Hickman has brought this to the forefront of his series. The X-Men are fighting for survival, but throughout are questions about genetic mutation to survive, time travel between dark futures, and ascending to a robotic singularity as a way to protect your race. I mean, those sci-fi features are very novel for me. But reading that reminded me of one of my favorite rap verses ever, Pharaohe Monch's second verse on Let's Go, and he raps. They research my stem cells, clone 10 of me, send one of them back in time just to get rid of me. Stop Pharaohe Monch from having verbal epiphanies. No, that's new definition to your own worst enemy. Listen, man, stop snitching, man. You use sex to sell, your next tail to sprint. Everything you represent is immoral, singular, not plural. I mean, in that verse, you have genetic cloning, a fear of being wiped out, and somewhat of an allusion to the future and this person or the future itself being vile. I mean, the very opening bars are probably a rap explanation for the new sci-fi movie coming out this year, Gemini Man. And while the rest of the verse leans into 2007's phone tech sensibilities, it doesn't change the fact that Monch uses sci-fi elements to pen compelling rap bars, and it's nothing short of spectacular. Marvelous, if you will. I was originally thinking of just ending it there, but Monch really uses genetic mutation, war experiments as settings for his albums, providing context and garnishing for core elements in the albums. I mean, PTSD and War are albums that weave military elements, political secret conspiracies, and sci-fi all together while dealing with the damage that war does to people, and particularly just the general oppression of black people. Pharaohe has often led us into his dark side before, but what he does in both these albums is entrench these feelings and dark experiences in military regalia, and that sounds a lot like another Marvel Comics mainstay, Captain America. And I mean, on War, he has Idris Elba open as a military recording, this kind of lost and found experience, talking about a satellite that is named with some military descriptions called Horus, and also stating that what they found, this kind of major breakdown, is found while they're in the middle of Afghanistan on recon. On the titular track, he states, cloned chickens walking around without heads. The food is contaminated. The water got lead in it. Population controls make the baby sick. RFID chips. Are you ready for 86? This is a war against consciousness controlling your soul. Sort of a psychological dictatorship. And we are on the front lines. Guilty as charged of intellect is the crime. Damn. And really, we see here that the emphasis is on the government trying to control people via genetically altered food, poisoning their water, forcing people to have chips implanted in their minds. Really, that and military tech to manipulate people. And this is wrapped around the idea of the independent artist fighting against government-controlled media. Assassins has amazing kind of war code name that, when read backwards, translates into stop fucking downloading music for free and we can save hip hop. I'm not going to try to pronounce it the way that it's pronounced here, but it's this idea of using military code names, and Gene, Royce, and Pharaohe are all framed as this independent rebellion sect fighting against a government gone rogue. Man, it's beautiful. And I really could try to break down all of what happens on the PTSD album, but all I really need to say is that opening skit is performing a mind wipe on a soldier in order to extract the traumatic experiences and life worries of that soldier. And the very first track with bars, Times Square, deals with the person being fired and adjusting to life after being in a war. All to say, we can see that Pharaohe Monch is familiar with sci-fi, war, military elements, and wraps them together to talk about issues of PTSD and damaged people. It really just sounds like the dude's been auditioning for a chance to write Bucky Barnes. In describing his experience of writing PTSD to Red Bull Academy, Pharaohe says, yeah, once you're working your way out of that darkness, you're always worried about going back in. And I couldn't help but think about how that quote relates to the Winter Soldier miniseries that dropped this year. This quote feels so much about the experience that Winter Soldier and his new recruit, RJ, have to deal with. Now, I'm not going to get into spoilers for this miniseries. I really want you to buy it and read it, but the core of the story, the core premise goes like this. Bucky Barnes is being hunted down by a child soldier constructed by the man who made him, and ultimately he's kind of like facing a childlike version of himself, and he ends up stopping the child from murdering him and others, and he has to help RJ with the socialization process of leaving behind the life of being a tool of war. Child RJ asks Bucky how he deals with his murderous past and how to see a different future for himself after being toyed around by military. The child's father comes back in the story and questions arise for the child about maybe going back down the path of darkness just as you're trying to get out. Genetic enhancement, regret, military-induced stress, themes that perpetuate this Winter Soldier run. Pharaohe Monch has been writing about these themes for a damn decade. So my general belief is that we need to give Pharaohe Monch the chance to write a Bucky Barnes mini story over at Marvel. Now, if you're interested in any of the comics I mentioned here, peep the description and I'll leave the links down there. Are there any rappers who you think who would be suited to write a particular Marvel character? And why do you think so? Drop a comment below, share this video with Pharaohe Monch, share it with Marvel on Twitter, and I hope you have a swell week. Keep safe, God bless, peace, love, unity.